Welcome back in brand new video. I hope you all are doing awesome. Today we talk about the story of the milkmaid and her dreams. Chapter 1. The Morning Light. The first rays of dawn spread over the little village of Green Meadow, painting the sky with soft strokes of gold and rose. Birds chirped merrily from the hedges, and the air carried the crisp fragrance of dew and earth. The sound of a wooden pail clinking echoed down the narrow cobblestone path. It was Polly the milkmaid, known across the village for her bright smile and hardworking spirit. Every morning, before most villagers were even awake, Polly would rise from her small thatched cottage, tie her scarf neatly over her hair, and prepare to carry fresh milk to the market. Her life was simple, some might even say plain, but Polly found beauty in the quiet rhythm of her days. She loved the soft lowing of cows, the cool feel of fresh milk between her fingers, and the peaceful sound of the wind dancing through the meadows. This morning, however, something felt different. Perhaps it was the softness of the sunlight or the calm joy that bubbled in her heart, but Polly felt that today might bring something new. She carefully filled her large tin pail with creamy milk, balanced it on her head with practiced grace, and set off toward the distant market. Her bare feet brushed through grass still wet with dew, and her mind began to wander, as it often did, into the world of dreams. Chapter 2. A Heart Full of Hope. Polly was not one to complain about her life, yet deep inside, she carried a spark of hope, a small flame that whispered she was meant for something more. She dreamed of one day owning her own cows, maybe even a little farm, where she could live comfortably without worrying about the next day's work. Her parents had passed away when she was quite young, leaving her to fend for herself. The village kindly took her in, giving her work at the squire's farm as a milkmaid. It wasn't an easy life. Early mornings, long walks, heavy loads, but Polly worked with cheerful determination. As she walked that morning, she began to daydream, as she often did when the path grew long and silent. She imagined herself reaching the market. The milk would be so fresh and creamy that everyone would want some. The baker, Mr. Hobb, would buy a jug for his morning loaves. Mrs. Pennyworth, who made cheese, would want two. And perhaps even the mayor's cook would come down and take the rest for the household breakfast. Why, I shall sell every drop, Polly murmured aloud with a little laugh. And with the money I earn, I'll buy myself some hens. Chapter 3. The Dream Grows. The thought of hens thrilled her. She pictured a neat little coop beside her cottage, with plump white hens pecking happily in the yard. Every morning she would collect fresh eggs, and soon, she'd have enough to sell at the market as well. Oh, I'll earn twice as much, she said with a sparkle in her eyes. And when I've saved that, I'll buy a cow of my own, a fine, healthy cow with a soft brown coat and gentle eyes. Polly's pace quickened with excitement. The heavy milk pail swayed slightly, but she didn't notice. Her imagination was painting scenes brighter than any reality she had known. With my own cow, I'll no longer need to work for the squire, she whispered proudly. I'll have plenty of milk, enough to make butter and cheese. Why, soon the whole village will come to me for dairy. She could almost see it now. Her little stand at the market, polished wooden jars lying neatly in a row, her name painted above, Polly's Fresh Dairy Goods. Children would run up to her stall for cups of fresh cream, and she would smile at them kindly. She imagined herself wearing a new blue dress, clean and crisp, her hair neatly tied with a ribbon. She would be known as Polly the Prosperous Milkmaid, respected and admired. Chapter 4. A Dreamer's Heart. As the sun climbed higher, the village road turned warm beneath her feet. Polly's daydream grew bolder. After that, she mused, I'll save even more money and buy myself a fine new house. A cottage with white walls and a garden full of flowers. Her voice took on the rhythm of her steps as if each word pushed her along. Yes, roses by the window, lavender by the door, and a little fence painted white. People will stop and admire it, saying, there lives Polly, the clever milkmaid who made her fortune. Her heart swelled with pride at the thought. She began to imagine a future where she might meet a fine young man, perhaps a farmer or a tradesman, who would admire her hard work and marry her. Together they would have children who would play in the fields, chasing butterflies and laughing in the sunshine. She smiled softly, her eyes half closed as the pictures filled her mind. But first, she told herself, I'll need to be careful with my money. I won't waste it on silly things. I'll work hard and save every penny. And soon, oh soon, I'll be one of the richest women in Green Meadow. Chapter 5. A World Built of Milk. By now Polly had reached the old stone bridge that crossed the creek on the way to town. The sound of running water below mingled with the rustle of the trees. The breeze carried the scent of wildflowers and wet earth. Her dreams, however, were running far ahead of her feet. She began to imagine herself dressed in fine clothes, walking through the market as people greeted her with respect. "Good morning, Mistress Polly," they'd call. "Your butter is the finest in the county." She'd smile modestly, pretending not to enjoy the attention too much, but inside she would glow with pride. Then her mind leapt again, faster, wilder. "With all that money, perhaps I'll even buy a carriage one day. A real carriage with shining wheels and a horse to pull it. I'll ride to town every morning, and everyone will turn to watch as I pass." The thought made her giggle. The milk in the pail sloshed gently, but still she didn't notice. She was lost in a castle of dreams built upon that single pail of milk. Chapter 6. The Spark of Vanity. Polly's laughter echoed softly as she continued walking. But now, pride began to mix with her excitement. "When I become rich," she said aloud, "I'll show those girls at the market how hard work can pay off. They'll all wish they had been kinder to poor Polly." She imagined them whispering and envying her fine clothes and success. She pictured herself holding her head high, walking gracefully among them. "And if anyone dares to insult me," she said with mock dignity, "I'll just toss my head like this." She tilted her chin proudly and gave a quick toss of her head, exactly as she imagined she would do one day. Chapter 7. The Fall. But the moment she did, splash, crash, the milk pail wobbled dangerously and slipped from her head. It hit the ground with a heavy thud, and the white liquid gushed out in all directions, soaking the dirt road until not a single drop remained. Polly froze, staring in disbelief. Her hands flew to her mouth, and her heart sank. "My milk! Oh no, my milk!" she cried out. She dropped to her knees, but it was useless. The ground greedily drank every drop. The shining stream that had once promised her riches was gone, vanished in an instant. The dreams she had built in her mind, hens, cows, house, and carriage, seemed to melt away with the spilled milk. Polly sat silently for a long while, staring at the mess. Then she sighed deeply and whispered, "All my dreams gone with the milk." Chapter 8. A Gentle Lesson. Polly knew she couldn't cry over it. She remembered what the old farmer, Mr. Brindle, had once told her. "There's no use crying over spilled milk." At the time, she had laughed at the saying, but now she understood it all too well. She stood up slowly, brushing off her skirt. The sun had climbed high, and she could hear the distant sounds of the market. She had no milk to sell, no coins to earn, but she still had her strength, and her lesson. With a small smile, she said softly to herself, "Next time, I'll keep my mind on the road and my dreams in my heart. There's a time for dreaming, and a time for walking." Chapter 9. The Walk Home. As Polly turned back toward the village, she felt lighter somehow. The disappointment was sharp, yes, but beneath it was a strange sense of peace. She realized how easily she had let her imagination run away with her. Dreams, she thought, were precious, but only when paired with patience and care. She began to hum a tune as she walked, and though her pail was empty, her spirit was not. The sun warmed her shoulders, and the wind whispered softly through the tall grass. She promised herself that she would not give up. Tomorrow she would work twice as hard, fill her pail again, and carry it to market with care. She would still dream, but she would keep her eyes on the path ahead. Chapter 10. The New Day. The next morning, Polly woke before dawn once again. The memory of her spilled milk flickered in her mind, but instead of sadness, she felt determination. She filled her pail carefully, balancing it with both hands this time. As she walked, she focused on each step, feeling the weight of her task, but also its importance. When she reached the market, she sold her milk quickly. The villagers greeted her kindly, and a few even laughed gently when she told them the story of her mistake. "I dreamed too far ahead," she said with a grin, "but I learned something along the way." By the end of the day, she had earned enough coins to buy a small basket of eggs, her first real step toward the dream she once imagined. Chapter 11. The True Dream. Months passed, and Polly continued to work hard. She still dreamed, but now she built her dream step by step. She bought a few hens with her savings and began selling eggs. The villagers admired her for her diligence and cheerful spirit. Eventually, she did manage to buy a cow. And though it took time, every success felt sweeter because she had earned it honestly and patiently. One afternoon, as she sat by her door watching her hens peck in the yard, she smiled at the memory of that spilled pail. "If I hadn't lost that milk," she said softly, "I might never have learned the patience to earn all this." Epilogue. The moral. Years later, children in Green Meadow would often see an old, kind-faced woman at the market selling the freshest milk and eggs. Her stand bore a small wooden sign that read, "Polly's Dairy, honest work, honest reward." When asked about her secret to success, she would always smile and say, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch, my dear ones. Work first, dream after, and both will come true in their time." Moral of the story. Dreaming is the seed of success, but patience and effort are the roots that make it grow. Or as the old proverb says, backhand index pointing right, don't count your chickens before they hatch.